gas emissions, cropland use, freshwater use, and nitrogen and phosphorus applications across different crops. And we see that in a business as usual approach, animal source food production will still contribute significant amount of greenhouse gases, but other food products will as well, depending on how and where they're grown in the world. Staple grains in the dark blue contribute significantly to environmental stresses around land and water. But most of that, about 60% of that, is being fed to animals, which are then being consumed by us. And last, I think you all know this, transformation is inevitable because of urbanization, because of population growth and pressure. We're seeing massive urbanization, and most of every region of the world is going to urbanize, with Africa lagging last. And we're going to see significant population growth, particularly in places like Nigeria, Pakistan, Indonesia, Brazil, and other places in the world. And this will have profound impacts on croplands. This urban expansion will be significant, particularly in Asia and Africa. So the question one has to ask is, who's going to feed us? If the world is urbanizing and the average age of the global farmer is 60, who is going to feed us? It's a really significant question that we don't really have the answers to. We talk about urban agriculture, there is potential there, but there's a lot of cropland that sits in rural places, and we need to be thinking about what's going to happen with this urban world. So transformation is happening now. This is a depiction of the food system produced in the High-Level Panel of Experts report in 2017. And if you just look at all of these boxes and arrows, which many of you have seen over and over and over again, it's a complex system, and this system engages and interacts with other systems, like the health system. One shock to one system can impact another system. Think Ebola, a shock to the health system of Liberia, had significant impacts on the palm oil food system in the same country and externally. So there's many different policy entry points, trade-offs, when we're thinking about all of these different boxes and their interactions. And there's many transformations happening in food supply chains, in food environments, the places where consumers need to make decisions about what to purchase and buy, amongst consumers, and all of the other drivers that are influencing food systems. Food systems are not static, they're dynamic. Sometimes they break, sometimes they are resilient. We need to be thinking about the flows and feedbacks of food systems, and how do we shape those food systems to ensure that they are resilient, particularly in the face of climate change and changing demographics. Beyond just food systems transforming, people are transforming, they're transitioning. People are moving, they're migrating, their choices are changing, they're changing their lifestyles. This is the classic nutrition transition that Barry Popkin and Adam Dranowski developed in the 90s, and this really all holds true. We see this pattern as people move from receding famines, smallholder rural places, they move to cities, they're sedentary, their diets change, and with that, their disease patterns change from high maternal and child undernutrition to obesity and non-communicable diseases. This transition has really happened almost everywhere, with the exception of maybe a few places. Most of the world sits in that middle pattern. Roughly 5 billion people sit in that middle transitioning pattern. Whereas that last pattern, the educated urban, we're conscious of our diets, we purposefully exercise, that's all of you in the room, right? There's not that many of us living that lifestyle. So there's about 1 billion who go to bed hungry in pattern 3, about 1 billion that purposely have the resources to be able to live a long life. But there's that group, pattern 4, that are dealing with double, triple burdens and a transitioning lifestyle and a complex set of food environments around them. But things are transforming. This is just quick snapshots. More and more people are eating away from home. This is a study done by Tom Reardon, who's done a lot on food system transitions with Peter Timmer and Barry Popkin, showing that in Latin America overall, more and more people are eating away from home, spending more of their money outside the home. People are watching cooking and not doing cooking. We see a lot more of supermarkets. On the right is Martin Kine's work looking at modern retail growth in Southeast Asia, and most people are getting their fruits and vegetables from supermarkets or hypermarkets. We also see the trends in overly processed, or what Carlos calls ultra processed. I think Carlos may be in the room. This is for him. Looking at the trends and patterns of packaged processed foods, which often don't align with healthy diets. Private sector is attempting to do reformulations to align more with healthy diets, but overall, when we look at these processed packaged foods, they're very high in salt, sugar, and unhealthy fats, and we see that growth. Look at the very end of that curve globally of this trends of processed packaged foods. They're tasty, they're convenient, and they're cheap. And we see this infiltration of private sector moving into new markets in places like Ghana, where KFC, I was talking to our a Ghanaian colleague, and he was talking about how there's, I think, 15 KFCs now in Accra, which has completely changed since I was there a decade ago. Brazil, China with Coca-Cola. So there's a lot of infiltration in low and middle income countries of food industry and new markets. So there's a massive transformation happening. And we also